Hello guys, today we'll be talking about something that's revolutionary. Okay, so have you ever heard of the video game theory? I talked about it a bit on this channel. And it's basically this theory that I created that basically says life is simply just a video game. So we gone over several things in the past. We gone over parallel universes, and I think we gone over explaining it. And I think we talked about something else. We talked about parallel universes in the past, but okay, I have to actually look up what I covered because the last time I talked about video game theory was months, a month ago. Oh, so I'm gonna go on YouTube very quickly. No. You have to bear with me with the internet very quickly. I have to go to the other channel. So you can talk. I have topic I want to talk about, but I want to know if I covered it already. So video game. So we talked about I talked about negative entities. Okay, that was the last thing we talked about. So one thing that is integral to the video game universe, to a video game, is of course respawning. So there's another term for this, which is called reincarnation, which basically is rebirth of the soul. But there's of course, and today we're going over all of the misconceptions of respawning back into the video game, or as people call it, the material world. So basically, respawning is basically you coming back in a video game. There are multiple video games you can respawn in, multiple video games that you can live in. It's not just the Earth plane, where it's all of these people always talk about how special Earth is, how Earth is a special planet. There's multiple worlds, multiple timelines, multiple realities you can basically spawn in. Okay, Earth is not the only planet. And Earth, of course, is special, but people act like Earth is like the greatest. Okay, Earth has a lot of really unique and cool things about it. And there are worlds that are far worse than Earth, far more difficult than Earth, which is something that a lot of people won't really accept all too much because, they say, oh, Earth is the most difficult planet to live on. Earth is the most difficult world. There's planets and worlds that are basically way harsher in the environment, timelines that are far worse than ours, universes and dimensions that are basically like hell compared to Earth. And Earth is a harder and more difficult planet. But Earth is not the most difficult planet in the world. So the misconception of respawning is one thing. Rebirth or respawning. So the misconception of respawning is that you only have a certain number of times to respawn and that's it. Well, you technically have unlimited times you can respawn. Since the universe is going through an ever-ending cycle, you basically evolve and level up throughout a reality. Any reality you pick. There are realities that are faster for your evolution. There are realities that are slower than your evolution. And of course, staying in the hub world, which is of course people call the spirit world, is something that you can still grow in, but it's no one really stays in the hub world. Maybe to talk and sap before they enter a video game, before they enter the reality, but most people don't want to stay in the hub world. And the hub world is not a bad place to stay. It's basically a paradise. but you don't want to stay in it forever because you evolve much slower than any realities you could live in. So living in a, which people call life, living in a world full of life forms, full of physical matter and stuff like that. And basically, what's the point of respawning? Well, you respawn in video games to level up, to ever evolve. But again, unlike games, you don't want it. In actual video games, you don't want to die, of course. You don't want to die in a video game. But basically, this is more like The Sims. This is a different type of game where you basically evolve by, of course, and the pigs are coming in here, by basically dying and wanting everything in what reality has to offer. Okay, that is how the universe works. And basically, we don't really know everything about the universe. People don't know everything about the universe. The universe is still a very mysterious place, and it will continue being a very mysterious place as well. So, oh yeah, Rosa died. But basically, before you're born, you pick your character. And that's a very crucial thing because your character can have detriments to the world you live in or have good attributes. For example, all of the storylines that you pick in your lifetime, whether good or bad, are happened on a preset thing. And why don't you? Why do they hide this from you? Why are you not supposed to know this stuff? Well, it's called spoilers. You don't want to spoil it. People don't like spoilers. Okay, if you know everything what's gonna happen, then what's the point of experiencing it? What's the point of experiencing something if you already know everything that's gonna happen? If you already know everything that's gonna happen, and you already know, first to say, for example, you were supposed to meet the love of your life at the age of 23, and if you change it and you now, oh, I know that this event's gonna happen, it will kind of ruin the whole purpose of the surprise. Life is basically a massive surprise. Anything can happen on life and on this reality. Of course, every life is basically a test, and each life you level up. You basically get smarter and you get more wiser. But what is the evidence of this stuff? There are lots of stories that are basically about people remembering their past lives. How can this be in part possible? It can't be explained by the normal scientific reality. Oh yeah, someday I'll get to materialism and their audacity and their complete lies. But materialism is basically a bunch of bullshit. Basically. Same thing with religion. And both are basically not correct. Yeah, no religion is correct, and atheism is wrong too. So what is correct? Well, there are various alter, where it's basically these people go by rationale and basically study stuff. Okay, basically, people who remember their past lives are people of very importance to proof of this world. So we have pre-birth experiences and past life memories. Pre-birth experiences basically prove that life is a simulation or a video game. Okay, that we are in a simulation or a video game. Okay, for example, one of the most famous ones is of course pre-birth memories, where basically this guy basically details an animation of what life happened before it's born. It's a very good video. And it's a very informative video for people who are just getting into this stuff. And actually want to warn about this stuff as open-minded to this stuff. I'm very open-minded. I say, you know what, I'm going to be open-minded to this stuff and stop being a, idiot. But, that's how the world is. Not everybody's going to be the smart man in the world. And of course, not everybody has the answers to everything. Once again, you really don't, unless you are a very, 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 very patient person, you eventually get there eventually. So what does pre-birth memories and past life experiences and of course past life regression reveal about the reality that we live in? That this reality is simply not real and is a video game. Some people call it a dream world, some people call it a simulation, but it's basically just a video game. Basically, nothing about this reality is real. There was no, you know, there's no physical reality. It's basically just temporary. That's like a video game. Okay, once it beat eventually you stop playing a video game and you basically like, okay, I'm done playing for tonight. That's basically what death is. You basically said, you know what, I'm done. Let's move on. Some people, which are mostly atheists, fear death, but fearing death is basically fearing, the inevitability. The reason why people die is simply because it's necessary for the video game. It's necessary for the video game to advance, basically. It's necessary for the collective video game to advance. It's necessary basically for everything that we need in a video game. If everybody lived forever, it would basically be like the utopia that is basically in the hub world. No one would progress. No one would basically want anything. Because if you don't die, you'll basically be like the hub world. Well, basically everybody stays the same. And, let's go back to pre-birth memories, basically, and past life regressions. Well, most people describe it, for example, a character creator in a video game. When they're creating the character, for example, picking the hair color, picking the face, picking if they want to be disabled or not. That is all important stuff that will define you in this lifetime. It will define your video game character in the thing called life. And all your personality, of course, your core personality is still there. Your core personality is still intact, basically. Your core personality will always stay the same because you are you. Okay, for every incarnation, you'll pick bodies that are also very similar to the ones that you had, so you can maybe recognize yourself as well. But people sometimes pick different bodies as well. And considering this is an MMO, you also pick up friends on the way. These could include your wife, your spouse, or anyone that is important to you in your life. These are people that you basically want to be with because it's basically you already are eternally bonded to that person. A group can consist up to 30 to 40 people. You're going to have 30 to 40 people in your entire group. You of course are going to see these people in your life because they're important people. There's of course other people that you will know in your lifetime as well. These could be friends and family or special someones in your life. Basically, yeah, that's how that works. And basically, once you choose your presets, you basically go through life, but once you die, you respawn. And once you respawn, it goes over and over and over again. There's also another theory called eternal recurrence, which basically means everything that you have done will be done again, which is theoretically possible. That everything you've done will be done again and again. But that, of course, may or may not be true in a video game. Of course, going down your path is very, very important. If you repeat it again, you might not learn that much again, unless you recycle. Basically, in the video game reality, once you're done leveling up, you may want to go back to the collective, which is basically everybody else. And everybody else will basically, is basically one being, one creature. People will refer to him or her as God. It is basically the collective energy. The collective energy of all that is and all that ever will be. The collective energy is a being of love and care, a being that is of all pure good. There is no evil in this being whatsoever, because there's no evil in anyone or anything. Because, of course, the contracts that we played before we're born, which some people call soul contracts, is basically what we signed before we're born. We signed these rules and conditions that we agreed on before we're born. And some people will say, I didn't agree on this. I didn't agree on these conditions. Well, you basically already did. Every game basically wants you to sign terms and conditions. Life is basically signing terms and conditions. And people who can't grasp the idea of living forever, there are people who do want to live forever. But you already are immortal. Since basically your existence is immortal, your mind and everything is immortal. Your personality, or they call soul. Soul and mind are actually very similar. And basically, now let's get to the rise of religion. So religion has basically tried to suppress this throughout all of time. And basically religion is basically something created by man. Of course, a lot of these prophets did not intend this to happen. For example, Jesus Christ and other prophets like Buddha and great yogis. They did not intend, religious doctrine to happen. You shouldn't be forced into religion. Same thing with atheism. And in the future, humanity will be a very different group. Humanity will be very different. People call this survive the reality, but scientific materialism will basically be laughed at just like flat earthers are today. Flat earthers are basically laughed at and mocked at and ridiculed today. Scientific materialism and atheism will likely always exist, as I explained in my video about atheism. But they'll basically become like the flat earthers of the future. Atheism will be laughed at and ridiculed and mocked because right now science and atheism does not like any studies of metaphysical. They'll openly block and deny any studies of the metaphysical. But there is a revolution happening. And no, I'm not meaning by a communist revolution. A revolution is happening. And the end of scientific materialism is coming, whether if they like it or not. The end of the dogma of scientific materialism and of course religion is soon coming. Of course, there's still probably always going to be religions, but the end of religion dogma and the rise and deceptions of religion will go away. And basically, respawning in a world, once people realize, hey, there's more than life than just this lifetime, the term YOLO will also become an outdated term. Because, of course, people realize, hey, maybe there's more than life than just living once. The term YOLO will basically just be laughed at and mocked like, scientific materialism, which, again, is a complete joke already. But what will be the future once we find out the truth? The truth, if you study it, rationally, it's basically studying things with an open mind and not being, a scientific materialist or a religious person. People believe that there is this thing, that we have to believe in religion or we have to believe in scientific materialism. That there's only two choices. Well, that's also false, and that's definitely false. People don't really have an open mind. Some of the people I talk to definitely have an open mind to this, but they don't want to get into the intricacies of the video game reality. That religion could be wrong, and that atheism could be wrong. So yeah, basically, pre-birth memories and near-life experiences prove that life is simply just a video game. A very long video game that takes years to complete. And yeah, you're gonna be able to see GTA 5 and other long-awaited projects, maybe in another lifetime. You never know. No, what will happen in your next lifetime. You can't predict it because, of course, no spoilers allowed. So that's basically respawning in the real life explained. Yes, you do respawn, but of course you have to start as a baby all over again, which is the most difficult part about life because you start as a baby again. I wonder what my interest will be in my next lifetime. That would be very, very interesting to see. Maybe. And another thing is when people talk about, of course, reincarnation, respawning, and stuff like that, people always say there's something that holds on from your past life. Something that definitely people hold on to. Which is most likely a talent or something that they're interested in. For example, for modern mass media and modern culture has only existed very recently. Already you have people, for example, being interested in dinosaurs, or if you had a specific strange interest when you were a strange interest when you were a kid, you just liked it. And people say, oh, it's just you're a boy, or that's because you're a girl, or blah blah blah. But if you're a boy, if you're interested in playing, maybe he had a World War II background in a past life. If you're a girl and you're interested in dinosaurs, you might have been a paleontologist in the past life. Especially if you're really, really, really into dinosaurs and not just a normie and want to know everything about dinosaurs. Same thing if you want to know everything about animals and how animals live. Well, you may have been a biologist in your past life. Same thing if you like planes, but instead of just being a generic, oh, I like pew 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 planes, I want to know everything about planes. I want to know everything about planes. I want to know everything in the intricacies of planes. Or basically similar to, Elton John being able to play the piano at like the age of 5. Even though he's like 5 years old, but he's able to play the piano really, really, really well. A special talent is proof that you had a past life. And basically you carried over your talent through a lifetime. Time. But yeah. And yeah. Next video we're gonna go over why there is non-physical reality and why quantum physics prove its existence. So yeah, basically we just got to the basics of respawning, explain everything about it. Respawning reincarnation, which is another term that people use, the more common term, but we're going into video game territory, so we're going by the theories that I created. Which again is very similar to other theories. So basically, think rationally and do that stuff. And hopefully the next video does not take more than a month to create. Goodbye.